Welcome to our house. This is the Screenplay Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Grenis, and with me, as always, a PGA Tour player, Andrew Novak.
What's up, everyone? We are down to the last two. Get a week off here, but uh, man, the season's finishing up.
Soon enough, we're going to be introducing you as a PGA Tour winner, Andrew Novak. Almost got it done this week at Torrey Pines. Third place finish out there, but real solid week, especially early in the season to start it off. So good
Yeah,
playing out there.
appreciate it.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at screenplay_podcast. New episodes every Wednesday, 8 a.m., wherever you listen to podcasts. Andrew just said it. One football game left. It's a ways away, too. Week in between. It's the Super Bowl, New Orleans, Kansas City Chiefs versus Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not too pumped about that rematch, but let's talk about how we got there. Chiefs defeat the Bills 32-29. With this win, the Chiefs have now eliminated the Bills in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Chiefs, first team in NFL history to make the Super Bowl 5 times in a 6-season span. Just give me your initial thoughts from this game. What did you think? I mean, we were both on the Chiefs here. We thought they would win. What stood out to you?
Yeah, it was a good game. I felt like it followed the script pretty closely for how these games go. I think this is a game that Buffalo could have won, and they just didn't. And I feel like every time they play, it seems to be like kind of a 50-50. Like, man, either team could have won, but every single time the same team wins.
Yeah, exactly. To me, it just feels like Kansas City is a little more buttoned up, just little things here and there.
Yep.
You might not notice it like watching the game, but uh, to me, I think one of the biggest things I saw was I actually believe this game was way closer than it should have been. Buffalo fumbled the ball 4 times this game. They
Mhm.
recovered all 4 fumbles. The Chiefs fumbled it once. Patrick Mahomes did not recover that at all. So if those
Mhm.
numbers switch up at all in any way, this game could be a little bit more out of hand. I think Kansas City had a much better special teams when it comes down to the playoffs. These special teams, it's a huge, huge factor. 148 yards of returns out of the Chiefs on Sunday. The Bills had 34 yards of return. I mean, that's a 120-yard difference right there. And just, yeah, situationally better. Spags blitz at the end. Um, the specific way that Allen knew, or the specific way that that Allen goes on the sneak, the Chiefs knew that. Just small things here and there, and I think it added up.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously like everybody knows the Chiefs from Mahomes and stuff, but really that defense and even the special teams have really carried them all year. The special teams has straight up won them a few games this year. I mean, they blocked the field goal at the end of that game earlier this
Right.
season, like to literally just win them the game. Like if it's not the offense doing it, it's something else. It's some other part of that team stepping up. It's they just seem to be the most complete team right now.
One of the storylines that I mean, they mentioned it a little bit, but I don't think it got talked about enough is last year during the draft, we were talking about it. We were like, why would the Bills trade back and let their biggest nemesis, the Chiefs, go up ahead of them and get their piece? They got Xavier Worthy in the draft by trading up with the Bills. Let's look at the stat lines from this week. All right. So Chiefs traded up for Xavier Worthy with the Bills. They get Worthy goes 6 for 7, 85 yards, touchdown, 2 rushes, 16 yards. Keon Coleman, 1 for 4, 12 yards. Um, I understand they're different types of players, but I mean, Xavier Worthy would
The,
have been a nice piece to be on the Bills this week, being able
yeah,
to stretch the field. If Mac Hollins is your dude doing that, I don't want to. I mean,
the issue is like if the Bills made that move and then they went and got like an offensive lineman they really wanted, like fine, like kind of dumb that you let your biggest kind of rival like move up and get who they want, but they let them move up and take a position that everybody knew the Bills probably needed and were probably going to take. And then they took, I mean, I've been harping on it for I don't know how long, but an overrated player that has not panned out at all. He was supposed to be their big body receiver to help. Well, Mac Hollins is their best big body receiver. He can't even pass up Mac Hollins. Like Mac Hollins was out there making plays, having to do everything because Keon can't do anything.
yeah, Mac
So
Hollins, I think he had 3 catches, but he had the game of his life to keep them
yeah,
in that there.
so it just I mean, like obviously like there were things on the field, but I think there were moves that you can definitely question, like that move in the draft. Like they go out and get Amari Cooper at the trade deadline, and Amari has essentially just been a depth piece. Like there have been some moves that are just a bit questionable as far as like they could have been something, and I just feel like nothing was really capitalized on.
I agree. Just little things here or there. Another conversation people like bringing up is the refs. I don't personally think the refs decided this game. You could go to that fourth down call and say maybe Josh Allen, got the first down, maybe he didn't. I don't know. What's your opinion on the refs this game?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I mean, people are in a close game, people are going to look for any little piece that they can scrutinize to be like, see, the refs helped the Chiefs here. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
overall it was about a normal football game. Like there's going to be close calls and they're going to go certain ways. I think on the sneak, I think there's a decent chance that Josh Allen might have gotten it. But like you're not overturning any call that's made in that situation. It's just that's the nature of a quarterback sneak. Like whatever the call ends up being on the field, it's typically
Yeah.
just going to stay that way because quarterback
Whatever.
sneak, you can't really see anything on the replay. So
Yeah. Whatever that call
it,
was, it was going to stay there. I agree with you.
yeah. So
Um, yeah, I didn't have a problem with the way this game was refed. I also kind of view this, I'm going to use a golf analogy here. I kind of view this like, the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup, like a tie retains the cup. Like you got to go out and you got to beat the champ. Like Josh Allen said, like you got to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. Sneaking by the Chiefs is not the way to do it. If they're going to beat the Chiefs, you got to go out there and beat them and don't even make the refs like a conversation at all.
yeah,
Like it's,
Chiefs are without a doubt the greatest one score game team of all time. So you
oh,
cannot
you
you
can't
cannot
debate
let it be
that.
a close
Nope.
game. Like,
Do you think the Bills will ever get past the Chiefs, or maybe not even get past the Chiefs, but get over this hurdle, get to a Super Bowl?
yeah, I think they will at some point, but like the window is like kind of weird. It's awkward. Like if Andy Reid, if the Chiefs go ahead and win, and Andy Reid and Kelsey want to like retire together, that would probably help things a little bit. Um, they just, I mean, at this point, like they have a Chiefs issue. Like it's just a problem. I mean, if they're in the NFC, I would imagine that we probably would have seen at least two Bills Chiefs Super Bowls at this point, but they cannot get past the Chiefs to get there.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Next game we get Eagles defeating the Commanders 55-23. Well, you and I were both on the commies here, +6. That did not play out well. First time that you and I have ever had the same pick and it lost. First time
Mhm.
in 2 years. So that's crazy. Good for the Eagles. They absolutely blow them out.
Yeah,
We were on the wrong there. 50 burger in the conference championship game. Pretty deep.
I really didn't even mind a shootout for Washington covering.
Right.
I thought back
Right.
and forth it'd still be fine. Like I was thinking maybe like a 35-31, even if they're on the losing side, they still cover or something. I did not see them giving up 55 points. Maybe maybe should have expected a little bit more regression to the mean with Saquon's performance against them the last time they played. Like Washington's run defense hadn't been that great, and they actually did stuff him up pretty good. But uh, man, that was an impressive performance by the Eagles.
I love I heard this stat today. Uh the Eagles had as many rushing touchdowns this Sunday as the Cowboys did all season. One game versus all season. Six rushing touchdowns. Absolutely terrible. We'll get to the Cowboys
Okay.
talk later.
Wait, didn't they? The Eagles might have had seven rushing
Seven,
touchdowns.
was it seven rushing touchdowns? Did
Because what Hertz had three, Saquon had three, and Shipley had one, right?
yeah, man,
Or did
seven.
Hertz only have
Yes.
two? So they had seven.
Hertz had three touchdowns. Yeah, so seven.
Yeah.
So they
So
had
I
more
think they
rushing
had
touchdowns
seven.
than six. Oh my gosh, that is embarrassing. All right. I still hate Nick Sirianni though. I mean, if he wins the Super Bowl coaching the Philadelphia Eagles,
You'd still fire him.
no. I am truly convinced that I could have led this team to a championship. I mean, this dude is wearing a jersey to his press conference after the game. He looks like a Philadelphia fan. He's got the beard, got the jersey going. I think that's actually how he got this job. I think he won like a fan contest, like a fan experience. And they're like, congratulations, coach of Philadelphia Eagles for the day. and they just like forgot to revoke his coaching rights. I don't know how it's unbelievable. Hurts in his post game presser said, I guess he let me out of my straitjacket a little bit today. I mean, you can tell in the way Hurts talks about Nick Sirianni that he is not a fan of him as a coach. Uh, I don't, even if they win the Super Bowl, I don't see Nick Sirianni be there much longer. I still dislike him. What do the Commanders need to do this offseason? I mean, the great season, but they need to fix some holes up. Where do you think they need to fix up those holes?
Yeah, I think the defense needs to be short up. Obviously, the offense is in a pretty good spot. Maybe adding a piece or two um, offensively, but I don't think that's a priority. I think the defensive side of the ball is going to be the priority. I thought they were too soft in run defense at times this year, so probably looking interior D line, linebacker. Bobby Wagner, obviously great player, but like I think that prime is past. I do think Frankie Louvu is a solid piece. I, being a Panthers fan, I was very impressed with him in Carolina.
You've
I
mentioned
think
his name a couple times this
yeah,
year, and he had a
I
great
think he's a
game this
super
weekend.
solid player, but
Yeah.
I think he needs a little bit of help. So I think you see them invest a lot on the defensive side. The nice thing is because of what Jaden Daniels has looked like, they have become a lot more appealing in the free agency market for any, offensive pieces that might want to go there. So I think in the draft they can really look to target defensive side and then maybe try and sign somebody, entice somebody basically to come there on the offensive side.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Defensive side is where they need that work. They brought in Marcus Lattimore on the defensive side this year. I thought he played absolutely terrible against the Eagles. AJ Brown got him all riled up.
Oh,
AJ Brown knows exactly what he's doing. We don't give that man enough credit. I think he's playing mental games with Lattimore out there.
AJ Brown is a top three, top four wide receiver in the league. I mean, he's that good. He's on a team that they don't need to sling the ball around that much, and
Even
when he
this
gets
week
his
though, like
chances, he
he
makes the
got
plays. Like,
got 8 targets this week. If he gets 8 targets a week, like you got to be happy with that.
yeah, I mean, he's gonna do a lot with 8 targets, but there's a lot of weeks where he's getting 4 or 5 targets because, I mean, there were times the Eagles threw the ball like 18, 20 times in a game this year just because
Hmm.
they didn't need to.
Right.
So
Yeah, when you're forgetting that Devonta Smith is even on the field, that's crazy because he's like potentially like a number one wide receiver on another team.
yeah,
All right, let's get to some
I'd take him
talking
on the
points.
Panthers.
I bet you would. I'd take him on the Patriots right now too. All right, let's get to some talking points. There's a lot of good stuff this week that's happening. Coaching hires, bunch of them taking place. Let's get into the Cowboys coaching hire first. Brian Schottenheimer. Absolute joke. Jerry Jones in his presser introducing Brian Schottenheimer said, this is a big risk, and people who think this is a less than hire are just wrong. It was embarrassing, like the way he introduced him. I actually felt bad for Brian Schottenheimer just sitting there next to Jerry, watching him say what he was saying. You hire your OC, so you hire in-house. It's being viewed as a bad hire, but not only that is you were late on the coaching hire to start with. So now Brian Schottenheimer is going to have a late start to hiring his staff. So it's not just him that's going to be poor, it's his staff that's going to be poor as well. What did you think about the Cowboys hiring Brian?
Yeah,
How do you think this is going to
we
go?
were we were talking about it last week, and that name had like just sort of popped up as like a thing, and I was like, oh, that's not actually it. Like that's just like a fit. And then they just like hired him. So I was clearly wrong there. Um, I I mean Jerry's definitely right. Like it's an incredibly risky hire because he has no head coaching experience, and hiring in house on a team that was not doing well is just not a very normal thing to do anyway. Uh, I think the biggest key, like that DC job in Dallas, is maybe going to be the most important hire
It's been filled.
for, and well, they have to get an elite or veteran DC in there to help because you have a new guy and they go get Eberflus.
I I don't hate that hire. I think the media can have fun with that because of where he just came from and what he did with the Bears. But listen, you're going from a head coaching job to a DC job. Like I don't think it
Yeah,
is the worst
he
hire
is.
for the Cowboys.
He is a good DC, but like I feel like you almost need somebody with like more presence or something, just like somebody in the locker room that is more, I don't know, like can I say like alpha almost? Like I
Yeah,
just feel
when
like
your
this
leader on
was part
defense
of
is
the
running a
issue with
podcast, you probably need an alpha DC in there.
I don't
All right, let's get to the next
I
one.
don't like it. I
I
don't like it.
yeah, we'll
I
see.
don't.
Personally, I think Brian Schottenheimer is a 1 year holder. You know, like the Cowboys are gonna be bad next year. There's just no way they're gonna be good. The Eagles are gonna be good. The Commanders,
Like a Mayo type, like just
exactly,
throw
exactly.
him to the wolves
Yeah, I
to
mean,
until you can
maybe
get your guy.
Dak's gonna have what? Like I am looking at like a 4-win football team here next year. So I think this is a 1 year placeholder. Get him out, and then we'll get a new guy in there when we get a good draft pick and start this thing over. Let's get to another coaching hire. The Raiders. They take Pete Carroll. What do you think about that?
I don't hate the hire. It seems like they're trying to maybe get the entire band back together from that Seattle thing. Like Daryl Bell coming in as OC maybe is being rumored. People are talking about how Russ and Pete Carroll have like mended their relationship. Like, are we just gonna rerun the Seahawks from like 2017, 2016? Like, I don't know. I don't hate the hire for Vegas. I think Pete Carroll, yes, he's older, but I do think he's got a lot of energy. I think he can do good things. Again, I think those are going to be coordinator hires they need to hit on. He's more of like a CEO type, but um, it's for Vegas, not bad. I think it can drive some excitement. The biggest thing I think for Vegas is not necessarily on the coaching side. I think Vegas needs talent acquisition to hit this offseason to like really boost their team.
I love the hire. I don't think Raiders are a viable team to win a championship in that division, especially. You got Harbaugh, you got obviously Reed and the Chiefs, Sean Payton with Denver. So Pete Carroll's the culture guy. He's gonna come in there. He's gonna change the culture. I think he just makes the Raiders like a viable team, you know, like a 7, 8, 9 win team where they can be happy about. They can sell some tickets in Vegas. That AFC West, that Raiders job for the next 5 to 8 years is just it's a no good spot to be. I mean, it's not a winning position. So you get your culture guy in there, and if you can just hold it down, you know, keep them viable, keep them happy. I think that's a good spot for the Raiders. Let's go to the Jags. They hire Liam Cohen. How you feeling about this one? They steal him over from Tampa.
Yeah, that Jerry Jones entry interview was rough. The Liam Cohen entry interview was not much better. Uh,
No, it wasn't much
I,
better.
I think I think he is a decent coach, but man, the Jags as an organization are in an interesting spot. They're making interesting decisions, and I don't think he'll be like a 1 year guy. I think he'll get longer term, but I I just don't see this really working out. Um, I don't know. I think the offense will be fine, but this is another one where that defensive coordinator hire is going to have to hit.
Yeah, no, I don't know who the DC is going to be. You know, I think Baker and Mike Evans had an absolutely fantastic year. If he can take somewhat of what he was doing with that and turn it into Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence, let's see what
Yeah.
they can do. The biggest thing there is they got to get Trevor Lawrence fixed. If he can do that, we'll see what happens. The Liam Cohen one, it's an interesting one. I don't know where I fall on that yet. The other one that finished this week, Jets hire Aaron Glenn. How you feeling about that one?
Why did the Jets never hire an offensive guy? Like
I don't
why do they
the
always hire defensive guys?
I don't get it. I don't know. I went through the Jets coaches
He's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I went through a bunch of these Jets coaches. It's all the same thing.
like I think Aaron Glenn is a good coach. I do think he's a good coach. I think he's good mind. He's done good things, but like why do the Jets do this? Like why like it's not like they win. Like why don't they ever try something different?
Yeah,
Like when they kill him, like
they keep trying to bring in like these culture guys, and it's like they all start their presser the same way. Aaron Glenn this week, strap on your seatbelt. It's going to be a ride. It's like Okay, like when Robert Saleh came in, he said all gas, no brakes. Like it just doesn't. It before that it was Adam Gaze. Before that it was Todd Bowles, who's a culture guy. It
I
just the last
guess
time
Gase was technically an offensive guy. His offense just didn't work. But
I know, but I mean, you have to go all the way back to Bill Parcells in the 90s to find a Jets coach with a better record over 500. Only Jets coach with a record over 500. So, I mean, it's just let me go back
yeah,
through some like Robert Saleh, he coached 56 games, Adam Gase 32 games, Todd Bowles 64 games, Rex Ryan 96 games. He had what, a 5-year stint there? Mangini 48 games, Herm Edwards 80 games. My point is Aaron Glenn, you have 3 years here and they'll find a new coach. So enjoy your 3-year run. Um, and it is what it is. That's kind of what the Jets do. You keep a
yeah.
coach
I
for
mean
three,
that.
4 years and you find a new one.
Yeah, I mean the Jets are also set up like it's going to be hard rebuild for like the next 2 years probably to like figure out which direction they're going. So I mean, yeah, that's just a tough spot. I hope for the best for Aaron Glenn. It's just that's just a really rough spot to be right now. I think.
Absolutely. Okay. There's one job left open. It is the Saints. I thought Mike McCarthy was going to take it. He still may. The longer it goes on, the more it favors somebody who's coaching in the Super Bowl, which could be Kellen Moore, OC of the Eagles. Who do you think gets the Saints job?
I think I'd rather see Kellen Moore get it as a Panthers fan because I feel like if McCarthy gets it,
Hmm.
kind of like you were saying with like a Pete Carroll, like the floor instantly goes up a little bit. We don't really know what it would be with Kellen Moore. I do think Kellen Moore is a good coach. I don't know. I mean, there have been good coordinators that just don't pan out as head coaches. So
Oh yeah,
as
you
a
have a little
Panthers
bit. You have
fan,
you have a little bit biased of an answer there. Then.
yeah. But I think I mean New Orleans in a weird spot, cap issues. They don't really have a quarterback like of the future or anything. They don't have like elite draft capital right now. Like they're kind of in a weird spot. So um, it's not like a super appealing job, I don't think. But like expectations probably aren't too crazy, and you're in an easier division. So maybe it is appealing, more appealing than I am kind of realizing.
Yeah, I would like Mike McCarthy to get that job and somehow stick it to Dallas down the line. In a couple of years, being in the NFC, that would be
Yeah.
fun for me to see. All right, so we just talked about all these coaches getting hired. Every year, every year it happens. 6 or 7 coaches get fired, and you look at this list now, and you're like, how the hell am I going to find 6 or 7 coaches that are going to be fired? But it will happen. It happens year in and it happens year out. So 5 coaches. We're just going to make you list 5 coaches that are going to be fired next season. Who do you have?
I've got starting off Shane Steichen.
Okay.
I've got Brian Callahan, Kevin Stefanski. I think that whole run in Browns, I think it's done. I got Brian Daboll gone. And this last one, I was debating. I really don't want to put Dave Canales on there, but I feel like
Hmm.
it would be such a Panthers thing. I'm gonna say the Panthers win next year. I'm gonna say Arizona flops and Gannon gets fired out in Arizona. So
All right.
I'll throw him out there as my fifth.
All right. I got a couple of the same. I got Brian Dayball. I got Shane Steichen. I got Callahan. I think his stint in Tennessee is going to be up pretty quickly. Um, I got Brian Schottenheimer, who I said earlier in the
Yeah,
podcast.
like a
I think,
1-9. Yeah,
yep. And then the last one here, Mike McDaniel down
yeah.
in Florida.
If things go south, yeah.
I think Miami has a terrible season. I'm talking 3, 4 wins. I think a 3 or 4 win season and a miss the playoff would destroy his job there. All right, filling out the staffs. So these guys get hired as head coaches. They then have to go get some other coaches, OCs, DCs, fill out the staffs. Around the league, any moves that you saw that you really liked or hated?
Uh, we kind of mentioned it. I thought the Dallas DC job had to be like an absolute home run with the situation they're in, and I think it's an okay hire. Like Eberflus is probably a decent DC. Like he can do some things. I just don't know. I don't know who else they were going to really get, but I'm not a huge fan. I thought the Detroit OC hire was interesting. Going to get John Morton from Denver. Um, I don't want to like discount him, but I would have thought you'd see like maybe a more high profile name ending up there just because of how much of an appealing spot that would be. Um, Obviously, like great place to make your name. You have insane pieces, offensive line, weapons, everything. So, a good opportunity for him coming over for Denver. But I was a little interested to see that get filled up pretty quickly and by maybe a name that wasn't as well known.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna go with Ben Johnson's staff. I really like how, I mean, he's obviously going to be calling the plays. He's an offensive
Mhm.
guy. So for
Right.
an offensive coordinator, who he hired was Declan Doyle. I've never heard of him. I looked him up. 28-year-old dude, same age as me. He's a
Yeah.
tight ends coach out of the Broncos. What that means to me is if Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams have success over the next 2 or 3 years, you are not going to see Declan Doyle go and jump ship and get a head coaching job somewhere else. It's just not going to happen. It's too early on in his career. So what this does is it does two things for him. It kind of secures that they can have, a 3-4 year run, do some good stuff in Chicago. And then it also gives Ben Johnson some ability to start his coaching tree, keep that going forward. So I really like what Ben Johnson did there with his offensive coordinator. Because what you see with a lot of these defensive head coaches, like they have a good offensive coordinator. Let's use the Eagles, for example. Like they're having a great year. And because of that, they're gonna lose Kellen Moore. So next year, will the Eagles be the same? Obviously not. Um, if
Yeah, the
Chicago
Eagles.
if Chicago does well this next year, Declan Doyle's still gonna be there. He's gonna be 29 years old. He's
Yeah.
gonna need more time under Ben Johnson. So I like that move. Another move that I thought was very interesting that I want to keep an eye on is Seattle. They take Clint Kubiak from New Orleans. They move him up to Seattle. Early on in the year last year, we were talking about how sick the Saints offense was, putting up
Mhm.
crazy offensive numbers. I like to see what he does up there in Seattle. Maybe get DK a little more involved than he was this past year. I think he showed some frustration
The
this year
the
with the
deep
passing game.
the deep balls were hitting before Shaheed went down. Even MVS was kind of hitting in that offense. Now that could just be Derek Carr just saying screw it, he's out there, but that also could be part of the QBX
I think
system.
I
So
will
you
be
could
drafting
see
my fantasy players this coming year based a lot more on OCs than I will on
yeah,
personnel.
Kubiak's running system is really good. I mean, I thought the Saints early season were running the ball very nicely. So yeah, I would not be surprised to see if Kenneth Walker can stay healthy. If not, maybe Charbonnet being a massive, massive boom next year.
Yeah. All right. Dark horse team to make the playoffs. This year would have been like the Commanders. Who do you see doing it next year, if anyone?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty obvious answer here. I think the Dallas Cowboys are in a great spot to make a run.
Oh my God. The confusion running through my brain for that 3 second period. I was like,
Oh man,
I was willing to hear you out, but it didn't, but the wires just didn't
you're
connect.
fake.
I couldn't.
So I honestly I was going through it. I actually did consider Seattle, but I think Sam Fran makes a nice bounce back next year. Although I'm not really considering San Fran as a dark horse. So I'm actually going to throw the Carolina Panthers out there. The way they finished the season, if they can get some things squared away on the defensive side of the ball in a soft division potentially, um, with Tampa Bay now having to deal with getting a new OC, uh, I think Atlanta's probably going to be having to break in Penix now. Like he looked decent, but what if that doesn't go well? Like Carolina could be in a spot where maybe they figure some things out.
I do not hate that answer. We're just backing our teams here. My dark horse team is the Patriots. I mean, I could see Mike Vrabel coming in there and winning 9 games first year. So yeah,
Yeah,
our dark horse teams are super biased.
it,
You're taking Panthers, I'm taking Pats,
especially
but
especially if
realistically,
you think,
it is a realistic answer out
yeah,
of each of us. I
well,
mean, it's not,
and yeah, especially if you think like the Dolphins are going to be a big flop next year. I mean, the Jets probably aren't going to be
I
great.
don't
So
see
yeah,
the
I mean
Bills
that would,
being, I see the Bills possibly
yeah,
going backwards a hair. I mean, I just did,
I
yeah.
think the door is open there for New England a little bit there. Yeah,
All right. And then let's go the opposite side of it. Big dog to lose. Who's going to be missing the playoffs that was in it this year?
I was looking around for it. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think San Fran figures it out. I think Seattle might be decent next year. Arizona, I honestly, I think I had a 0% hit rate on Arizona games this year, so I'm not going to try and predict Arizona, but I think the Rams take a little step back. They had a great year this year, but um, I think Cup aging, Stafford aging, they're getting a little past that window.
I don't know. I couldn't do that. The Rams defense was so young this year. I think the defense is only getting better. Big dogs to lose early. It's tough because like I'm looking through the playoffs now and I'm like, how's this team gonna miss the playoffs next year? But I think the Steelers are gonna take a step back. They're not necessarily a big dog. I think they missed the playoffs. I think Tomlin starts taking a ton of heat. I could see the Bills taking a step back and missing the playoffs. I think the Bengals are gonna hop in. I think that the Patriots are gonna have a really good year. I think that the Baltimore is going to have a really good year. I see the Bills taking a step back. I think this one hurts. I
I
just
wanted
think
to,
Josh Allen is like,
yeah,
it's almost like the look on his face was, it it was like just a defeat. Like I don't like I played great. Like I don't know what
mhm,
I'm supposed to do. I
yeah.
see a step back out of them.
I wanted to put Houston, and I just couldn't figure like I could not justify like the Colts, the Jaguars, or the Titans beating them. Like it just,
I thought the Texans played like crap all year and
and they
they
still,
made
yeah,
it to the second round of the playoffs.
exactly.
So I just don't see.
They also had pretty horrendous like injury luck with their weapons this year too. So
Yeah, I would count this as
uh,
a down year for the Texans. So
yeah,
I see better out of them next year. All right, let's get into the gambling. We are not going to list our bets this week. We have a lot of time between now and the Super Bowl. We're going to think on them. But we are going to give you a nice little review of our year in the gambling. Last week I went 1-1. Andrew went 1-1. We both had the same picks. We took Kansas City. We took Washington. One hit, one didn't. For the playoffs, I had a nice little run. I went 5-1-1. Andrew went 4-2-1. Overall, on the year heading into the Super Bowl, I am 28-30-1, just under 500. Andrew's got a great record going, 35-21-2 all time. I went back, I looked at it, our records from season one, put them with season two. These are our all time records. I am 70-59-1 for a 54.2% hit rate. Andrew is 66-47-3 for a 58.4% hit rate. That's pretty good. You're almost 60% through over 100 bets. So I mean, just officially what
I'll
you
take
are.
that.
Yeah, I would take that too. Anything over 54% is good. I'm at 0.2 over, barely over. All right, so that was our review of bets. I mean, we as a podcast, we're solid. So listen to us. Listen to Andrew especially this year. He is on fire.
Yeah, well, we gotta. There's obviously only one game next week, but we'll have to try and find a way to get at least two bets in for that game, just so you get the chance to get back to 500 on the year.
I will have more than two bets. I promise you that. We're going to have lines. We're going to have over unders. We're going to have props. I think maybe next week we could possibly do screenplay podcast awards. We will see. May have Kendrick Lamar odds on what song is coming first. I don't know. We're going to have it all. We're going to look into big gambling week next week. It's going to be fun and we will get our bets out there. Where are you this week? You are playing Pebble Beach,
Pebble Beach, yeah, on Monterey.
Torrey Pines to Pebble Beach. That ain't too bad.
Not bad at all.
All right. Good luck this week. We'll be following. We got a lot of podcast guys listening, following you out there on tour. So keep it going. Have another good week. We have the week off from football, but we will still be back next week, 8 a.m. So follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at screenplay_podcast. New episodes every Wednesday, 8 a.m., wherever you listen to podcasts. Any last words?
Panthers Super Bowl champs 2026.
All right. Appreciate y'all listening. See y'all.